Welcome to your sleep story. I'm so glad you're here tonight. Whatever this day was, however long it felt, however much it held, it is behind you now. Completely behind you. You made it through, and that matters. So let's begin. Before I take you anywhere tonight, I want to count you down from 10 to 1. And as I count, I want you to allow yourself to sink just a little deeper into wherever you are right now. Feel the weight of your body. Feel what is beneath you, holding you. And with each number, just let go a little more. 10. Allow your eyes to close. Gently, completely. There is nothing you need to see right now. 9. Feel your shoulders and let them drop as far as they want to go. 8. A slow breath in through the nose. 7. And all the way out. 6. Your hands. Feel them opening. Whatever you've been holding today, you can put it down now. 5. Your jaw is soft. Your face is soft. 4. Your legs are heavy, warm. 3. You're drifting, not asleep yet, but moving that way. 2. The day is behind you, completely and entirely behind you. 1. And now, tonight's sleep story, the relaxation. Before we go anywhere, I want to stay here with you for a moment. Just here, just now, because this moment, this exact moment right now, where you are lying in the quiet, deserves a little attention, a little kindness. Take a breath in for me, from the very bottom of the belly. Good, and let it go. And as you breathe out, I want you to imagine that everything you were carrying today, every worry, every unfinished thought, every heavy thing is just leaving with that breath, just drifting away. You don't have to solve anything tonight. You don't have to figure anything out. You don't have to be anything other than exactly what you are right now. A person who deserves rest. A person who deserves sleep. Because you do. You really do. Whatever happened today, whatever was hard, whatever felt heavy, you made it through. You are here. And that is enough. That is more than enough. You are safe. And you are here. Bring your awareness gently to your feet now. Just notice them and allow them to soften. The toes uncurling, the arches releasing. All the small held tension of the day simply letting go. Let that softness travel upward, through the calves, through the knees, the thighs. All of it warm, all of it heavy, all of it resting now. Your lower back, your hips. Allow yourself to feel the surface beneath you taking your weight completely, fully. You don't have to hold yourself up anymore. The bed has you. The earth has you. The belly soft. The chest soft. The heart beating steadily as it always has, as it always will. Your shoulders dropping, your arms heavy and warm, your hands open and still, the neck long and loose, and your face, let the jaw go. Let the forehead smooth. Let the eyes be completely still behind their lids. There you are, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, completely soft, completely take you somewhere the maples are turning, and the air smells of wood smoke and cold apples, and the evening is long and slow and completely unhurried. Come with me. The road. Imagine a road. A country road. Not a highway, nothing like that. A 2-lane road. Its asphalt slightly cracked at the edges where the frost has worked at it over many winters. The painted center line faded to a suggestion of itself. The maples on either side. That is the first thing. That is always the first thing on this road at this time of year. The maples, hundreds of them, lining the road on both sides, their canopies meeting overhead in an arch of color, red and orange and yellow, and the deep burgundy red that some maples go before the others, the whole range of the autumn palette present all at once, the light through them, even at this hour, the sun low, the afternoon nearly done. The light through the maples is extraordinary. Filtered, amber, the leaves translucent in the low light, backlit, glowing from within. The road beneath them dappled with moving light and shadow, and the leaves coming down, not all at once. One here, two there, a small gust from somewhere and a shower of them, spinning, drifting, finding the road and the grass verge and the ditch. Each leaf its own color, its own shape, its own particular path to the ground. You are driving this road slowly. Of course you are. No one drives this road fast in October. No one could. The farm appears on the left. A wooden sign at the gate, simple, hand-painted, the lettering careful. Maple Farm, Est 1887. The gate is open. It is always open during the season, which runs from the first cold nights of September through to the end of October. The driveway beyond the gate is gravel, slightly rutted, the gravel damp and dark from the rain earlier in the week. Maples on either side of the driveway. Of course, maples everywhere on this farm. The sugar maples that the farm was built around, that it has been built around since 1887, that were already old when the farm was established and are very old now. Their trunks massive, their bark deeply furrowed, their canopies wide and high, the branches heavy with the last of the season's leaves. The farmhouse at the end of the driveway, white clapboard, 2 stories, a wide porch running the full width of the front. The porch with its old wooden chairs, 2 of them, facing the maple grove. A lantern at each end of the porch, already lit in the dimming afternoon light. Warmed, the windows of the farmhouse, warm with interior light. The smell of wood smoke from the chimney. You park, you step out. The air, cold, not bitterly cold, not the cold of January, the particular cold of a New England October evening. Brisk, clean, the kind of cold that makes you want to pull your coat a little closer, but doesn't make you want to go inside. Not yet. The smell of it. Fallen leaves. First, the particular sweet and slightly fermented smell of leaves on the ground in autumn. The decomposition just beginning. The the sugars in them converting, the smell of a season ending. Not unpleasant, never unpleasant. The smell of completion. Wood smoke from the farmhouse chimney, and from somewhere further away, the sugar house at the edge of the maple grove, where a small fire has been burning all day. The smoke finding its way through the trees, mixing with the cold air. Apples from the orchard behind the farmhouse. A row of old apple trees, their fruit past its best now. Some of the apples fallen and lying in the grass below the trees. The smell of them, the cidery, slightly sharp smell of apples past their peak, giving themselves back to the earth. All of it together, leaves and smoke and apples, and the cold, clean smell of the October air itself. You breathe it deeply, and the afternoon and its weight and its demands, all of it leaves with that breath, simply leaves. Ruth, the door of the farmhouse opens. A woman, 68 years old, white hair cut short, a wool sweater the color of oatmeal, slightly worn at the elbows. The kind of person whose presence is immediately, there is no other word, solid. Not imposing, solid, like the farmhouse itself, like the maple trees. Her name is Ruth. She and her husband George have been running this farm for 41 years. Before them, George's parents. Before them, George's grandparents, who built the farmhouse in 1887 and planted some of the maples that are still standing. 4 generations of the same family, the same trees, the same work. She comes down the porch steps. She shakes your hand, her hand warm and firm, the hand of someone who works outdoors through most of the year. Come in, she says, or stay out a little if you want. The evening is good tonight. She looks at the maple grove, the color of it. Even Ruth, who has seen this grove turn every October for 41 years, looks at it with something that is not quite surprise and not quite familiarity, something in between, something that has no name, but is the feeling of seeing the same beautiful thing for the 41st time, and finding it no less beautiful for the repetition. She goes back inside. You stay on the porch. The maple grove. The grove is just beyond the farmhouse. You walk toward it. The grass underfoot, long, slightly wet from the week's rain, the blades of it catching on your boots. Fallen leaves on the grass, red and orange. The maple leaves large and many-pointed, each one its own small work. You enter the grove. The trees close around you. The trunks of the sugar maples, enormous, each one different, the bark of them gray and deeply furrowed, the furrows running vertically in long ridges. Some of the trunks so wide that you could not get your arms around them, trees that were saplings when this farm was new and are ancient now. The canopy above. From inside the grove, looking up, the sky is almost entirely covered. The leaves overhead a continuous ceiling of color, the late light filtering through it. Red and amber and orange and yellow, the whole thing glowing. you stand very still and look up. The leaves move slightly, a breath of air through the grove, the leaves trembling all together in a soft, collective sigh. One falls, spinning slowly, catching the light, tumbling end over end, landing on the ground a few feet from where you stand. A maple leaf, red. You pick it up, the stem still supple, the surface of the leaf slightly waxy, the color of it extraordinary up close. Not one red, but many reds, gradients of it from deep crimson at the edges to a brighter scarlet at the center, the veins showing through. You hold it, and you think without quite thinking, without putting it into words, that this leaf is one of the most beautiful things you have ever held. The Asujare Choasi. At the far edge of the grove, the sugar house, a wooden building older than the farmhouse, the original sugar house, its boards weathered to a silver gray, its roof slightly mossy. Small windows, their glass wavy with age, a stone chimney, and from the chimney, smoke. George has had a small fire going all day. Not for syrup. The sugaring season is spring, when the sap runs. This fire is something else. A ritual, almost. George lights a fire in the sugar house every October evening during the color season. He has done it for as long as anyone can remember. He says the sugar house needs to stay warm. Ruth says he simply likes to sit in it. They are both right. The door of the sugar house is open. You look in. The interior, the large evaporator pan, dormant now, its surface clean and waiting for March. The stacks of firewood against the far wall. The hooks on the ceiling where the collection buckets hang in the off-season. The smell of the place, maple syrup, deeply absorbed into every surface, into the wood of the walls and the floor and the ceiling. Decades of syrup making in the smell of this building. Sweet, warm, the smell of sugar and wood, and the particular alchemy of sap becoming syrup. George is there, sitting in the wooden chair he keeps in the corner, his coffee mug in hand, looking at nothing in particular through the open door. He nods at you. You nod back. That is enough. George is 71, tall or was tall, the years having reduced him slightly, but the height still there in the way he holds himself. A face that has been outside in all weathers for 50 years. The lines of it deep and settled, the kind of face that looks better with age rather than worse. He has been a maple farmer since he was 29. Before that, other things, none of which suited him. He went to college. He worked in the city for a few years. He was not happy. Then his father called, "Come home." And George came home, to this farm, these trees, this sugar house, and stayed 41 years ago. He does not regret it. He has never regretted it. He regrets other things, as everyone does, but not this. He sits in his sugar house chair every October evening when the weather permits and drinks his coffee and watches the color in the maple grove and thinks or does not think. The distinction for George has become less important over the years. Thinking, not thinking, both are fine. Both belong to the same evening in the sugar house. The COLOUR, the color of the maples in October. Let me tell you what it is. It is chemistry. The green of the leaves in summer. That is chlorophyll. The chemical that captures sunlight and uses it to make sugar from air and water. The chlorophyll is so abundant in summer, so dominant, that it masks everything else in the leaf. But chlorophyll needs light to maintain itself. As the days shorten in autumn and the light diminishes and the nights cool, the tree stops producing chlorophyll. The green fades, and what was always in the leaf, always there, all along, hidden under the green, is revealed. The yellows, carotenoids, the same pigments that make carrots orange, that make corn yellow. They were there all summer, invisible. Now the green is gone, and they are present. And the reds are different. The reds the tree actually makes in autumn. The anthocyanins, produced in response to the cool nights and the bright days of October, produced from the sugars trapped in the leaf after the tree has sealed it off. The tree makes the red, deliberately, or as deliberately as a tree does anything. The red is not a dying color. It is the color of a tree doing something, making something in the last days of the leaf. The color of effort at the end. Beautiful effort. The porch. You go back to the porch. You sit in one of the wooden chairs, old chairs, the wood of them slightly gray, the seat worn smooth. The kind of chair that is deeply comfortable without trying to be. Ruth brings tea without being asked. She simply appears with 2 mugs, sets one on the small table beside you, takes the other for herself, and sits in the chair beside you. The view from the porch, the maple grove in the fading light, the color of it deeper now, the light going from golden to amber to something that is neither, something that only exists in the last 20 minutes of an October afternoon. The reds of the maples absorbing it, deepening, the leaves still falling, 1 here, 2 there, the occasional small shower of them when a breath of air finds the grove. You wrap both hands around the mug. The warmth of it. Ruth is not talking. You are not talking. There is nothing that needs saying. The grove is saying everything. The color and the falling leaves, and the wood smoke, and the cold, clean air, and the 2 of you on the porch with your tea. All of it saying the same thing in different ways. The season is turning, and it is beautiful, and it is enough. The maple syrup on the table inside, a jar of maple syrup. Ruth's jar, the jar she keeps for the house. Not the production bottles, not the ones sold in the farm shop. The jar she keeps for herself and George, slightly larger than the others, filled from the first run of the season when the sap is clearest and the syrup the lightest. Grade A, light amber, the color of it like the afternoon light through the leaves. The same amber, almost, everyone has. But Ruth's maple syrup from this farm, from these trees, it is different from the maple syrup in the bottle at the grocery store. Not dramatically different, subtly different. The way that anything made in one specific place, from one specific source, by people who care, is subtly different from the mass-produced version. A depth to it, a complexity, the terroir of this hillside, these trees, this cold and warm cycle of a New England spring in the syrup. You can taste where it came from. You can taste the trees, the evening DAPNS. The light goes, not all at once, the way light goes in October. Gradually, the color changing through amber to rose to the pale gray blue of dusk. Each stage lasting only a few minutes, the whole sequence happening in the half hour before dark. The maples in the dusk, the color leaving them as the light does the reds and oranges and yellows becoming less vivid. The grove settling into the general gray-green-brown of dusk. Not ugly, not less beautiful, simply different, a different beauty, quieter, the grove in its evening self rather than its afternoon self. The first star, above the maple grove, above the trees, the first star, appearing in the deepening sky. Ruth points at it briefly, without saying anything. You see it. She puts her hand down. You both look at it. The star above the maple farm in October. The same star that has been above this farm since long before there was a farm here. Since long before there were maples here. Since long before there were people on this hillside to look up and see it. Still there, steady, Ruth finishes her tea. She goes inside. The door closes softly. You stay a little longer. The sound of the grove, AT dusk. Listen, the leaves. The sound of the maple grove at dusk. The leaves moving in the slight evening air. Not a loud sound. A sound so particular to this, to deciduous trees in autumn, their leaves drying and slightly papery, lighter than summer leaves, more willing to move. A sound that is different from the sound of the same trees in July, drier, more urgent somehow, as if the leaves know, and perhaps they do, in the way that leaves know things, which is not through thought, but through chemistry, through the signals running through the tree's vascular system, through the abscission layer forming at the base of each petiole that will eventually release the leaf to the wind. The leaves know they are leaving, and they are not sad about it. The tree is not sad about it. This is what the tree does. This is what autumn is, not loss, but the tree's deliberate preparation. The nutrients pulled back from the leaf before it falls. The tree taking back everything it can use, leaving in the leaf only what it cannot. The color is what is left after the tree has taken what it needs. The color is the remainder, and the remainder is extraordinary. A crow, somewhere in the high branches of the oldest maple, a single crow call, sharp, clear, and then gone, and the grove is quiet again. The farmhouse kitchen, Ruth calls from inside. Supper, You go in. The farmhouse kitchen, old and warm and completely itself. The kind of kitchen that has been a kitchen for so long that it has absorbed the purpose into its walls. The ceiling low, the beams dark, the floor white plank pine, slightly worn and slightly uneven. A wood stove in the corner, not decorative, functional. Its iron surface radiating heat into the room. The smell, something has been cooking since afternoon. A stew, you can smell the depth of it. The long-cooked vegetables and the stock and the herbs. The smell of something that has been allowed the time it needs. A pot on the stove, a ladle, bread on the board, from the bakery in town, or perhaps Ruth's own, a round loaf. Its crust dark and slightly cracked, the smell of it competing pleasantly with the stew. George is at the table. He has come in from the sugar house, his boots left at the door, his coffee mug exchanged for a glass of water. He is looking at something on the table, an old photograph, perhaps, or a piece of paper. He sets it aside when you come in. Ruth is at the stove. The ladle, the bowls, the table set simply, no ceremony, no fuss. The way the table in a working farmhouse is set, the necessary things and nothing more. You sit. George sits. Ruth brings the pot. Supper, the stew, the first spoonful, warm in the way that only something slow-cooked can be warm, not just temperature, but substance. The warmth of the vegetables that have been in the pot for hours and have given everything they have to the broth. The warmth of the broth itself, dark and rich. The maple syrup Ruth adds to hers, a small spoonful. A secret, something she learned from George's mother, giving it a depth that is not sweetness exactly, something more complex. You eat slowly. The bread, torn from the loaf, not cut. George always tears the bread. An old habit from his father, who tore bread from the loaf the way his father did, and his father before that. George doesn't think about it. He just tears. You tear yours too. The room is warm. The wood stove ticking quietly in the corner as the iron heats. The window above the sink showing the dark outside. The dark of a rural October evening. No streetlights. The stars beginning to appear above the maple grove. Ruth and George talk, not to you particularly, to each other. In the easy way of two people who have been talking to each other for a very long time. About tomorrow's weather. About a fence that needs attention before winter. About a letter from their daughter in Portland. Small things, the small things of a life. You listen without listening, the way you listen to a fire, the presence of it, the warmth of it, without following every word. The jar on the table. After supper, the maple syrup again. Ruth puts it on the table, with the bread, with a small dish of butter. The end of the meal in this farmhouse is always this: bread and butter and maple syrup. George has eaten this way since he was a child. Ruth learned it from him and found she preferred it to any dessert. You dip a piece of bread, the syrup thick, slow amber. the smell of it warm and sweet, and the smell of the maple grove in spring. Somehow, in the kitchen in October, the smell of the sap running, the smell of the evaporator working, the taste, sweet but not only sweet, something beneath the sweetness, the mineral quality of the sap, the particular chemistry of these trees on this hillside, the cold nights and the warm days of sugaring season, all of it in the syrup. This is what this farm makes, has always made, the trees turning sunlight and water, and the minerals of this specific hillside into sap, and the sap becoming syrup, and the syrup becoming this moment, this taste, this amber thread connecting the maple grove to the kitchen table. George looks satisfied. He always looks satisfied at this point in the evening. The supper done, the bread and syrup, the day complete. The fire. After supper, Ruth lights the fire in the sitting room. Through the door at the back of the kitchen. The sitting room, smaller than the kitchen. Its walls lined with bookshelves, and the various accumulated things of a long life in one place. Photographs. A pair of old snowshoes hanging on one wall. A quilt on the back of the sofa, handmade. Its colors the colors of the maple grove in October. Reds and oranges and yellows. The pattern intricate and old. The fireplace. Stone, the same field stone as the chimney, as the foundation of the farmhouse. A fire already laid by Ruth earlier in the day. The kindling and the logs arranged, waiting. She touches a match to the kindling. The fire catches, slowly at first, the kindling taking the flame spreading to the smaller logs beginning to heat the larger ones above them. The fire finding itself, becoming itself. In 10 minutes, it is properly going. The logs burning, the heat beginning to fill the room, the light of it warm and moving on the walls. You settle into the sofa. The quilt. Ruth puts the quilt over your legs. The fire is in front of you. The window beside the fireplace shows the dark maple grove outside. The trunks of the nearest trees visible in the firelight that reaches the window, dark shapes in the dark. The last of the leaves just visible when the fire brightens. Growing still, the fire is warm. The room is warm. George has gone to bed. He rises early, always, the farm requiring it. Ruth is in the chair by the window, reading, her lamp casting a warm circle of light around her. Her book held close in the way of someone who needs glasses, but has forgotten them elsewhere and is managing without. The house is quiet. The maple grove is quiet. Somewhere outside, the wind very faintly in the high branches. The sound of October in the trees, the dry leaves, the slightly papery sound of them moving, and the fire settling into its steady working rhythm. The logs past their initial burning, committed to the long, slow work of becoming coals. If thoughts are arriving, and they probably are, that is what minds do. They are not staying long. They come. You notice them. They go, like leaves falling in the grove. One here, two there, and then the grove is still again. You don't need to hold any thought right now. You don't need to follow anything to its end. Just the fire, just the quilt, just the sound of the wind in the maple grove, just the warmth of the farmhouse around you. Peace lives in this room. It has always lived here, in the quilt and the fieldstone and the syrup jar on the kitchen table, and the 41 years of Ruth and George on this farm. Tonight it is yours too. Good night. You are doing so beautifully. The day is done. You drove the maple road this evening. You walked into the grove and held the red leaf. You sat on the porch with Ruth and your tea and the color of the trees. You ate the slow supper. You tasted the syrup that came from the trees outside. The farm received you, as old farms do, without fuss, without ceremony, simply with warmth, with the fire and the stew and the bread torn from the loaf, and the quilt over your legs, and the maple grove in October doing what it does, being beautiful. Carry it with you on the hard days, the gray days, the days when the world feels colorless and slow. Remember this road. Remember the maples overhead, the light through them. Remember the leaf you held in the grove. Remember the syrup on the bread. Remember that somewhere right now, on a hillside in New England, in Vermont, or New Hampshire, or Maine, the maples are turning. The trunks are massive and old. The sugar house is waiting for spring. George is asleep. Ruth is reading by her lamp. The farm is there. It is always there. You know the way now. But tonight, you are already here. The quilt is warm. The fire is burning. The maple grove is outside in the dark. Sleep now, deeply, completely. You deserve every amber, wood-smoked, maple-sweet, leaf-fall moment of this rest. Every single one. Good night. Sleep well. The maple farm through the night. The grove at midnight. The maple grove at midnight. No wind now. Completely still. The leaves overhead. What is left of them? The ones that haven't fallen yet, hanging motionless. The moonlight finding its way through the canopy in thin silver threads, reaching the ground in small bright patches between the shadows of the trunks. The leaves on the ground, deep, a carpet of them, the accumulation of weeks, each day's falling added to the days before. The whole forest floor, a deep, soft, many-colored layer of the season's letting go. Dry on top, the top layer light and slightly curled, the dry leaves of the last few days. Below that, damper, darker, beginning to break down. Below that, last year's leaves, barely recognizable as leaves. Almost soil. The process of return already advanced. And below that, the year before. And the year before that. The forest floor is years of autumns, layered. The trees standing in the accumulated seasons of their own past. Patient, old, exactly where they have always been. What the tree does in winter. The maple is preparing. You cannot see it. It happens inside the tree, in the vascular system, in the cells of the cambium layer beneath the bark. The tree is pulling in the last of the nutrients from the leaves. Before each leaf falls, the tree pulls back everything it can use. The chlorophyll broken down, its components reclaimed. The nitrogen and the phosphorus and the other minerals the tree spent all spring building into the leaf, taken back, stored in the branches and the trunk. The leaf, when it falls, is almost empty. The tree has taken what it needs. The leaf is released, and the tree settles into itself for winter. The sap slowing, the metabolism dropping to almost nothing. The tree not dead, never dead in winter, though it looks it. Simply waiting. The energy stored in its roots and its trunk, banked against the long cold months. And in the roots, something remarkable. The tree's roots, reaching into the soil, are still connected to the other maples in the grove. Through the fungal network in the soil, the same mycorrhizal network that connects all trees in a healthy forest. The maples of this grove are sharing resources, the older trees sharing with the younger, the healthy sharing with the stressed, the grove in its way tending itself, holding itself together through the winter, the sugar house waiting, the sugar house at the edge of the grove. George's fire went out hours ago. The sugar house is cold now, the stone of it holding the last of the day's warmth, but barely. The evaporator pan quiet and still. The firewood stacked and waiting. It will wait until March. March, when the days begin to warm above freezing, while the nights are still cold. When that specific combination of temperature creates the pressure differential in the maple trees that causes the sap to run, the trees will wake, the sap will move, and George will come to the sugar house before dawn one morning in March and find the collection buckets full and begin the work, the same work his father did, his grandfather, his great-grandmother, who was here when the farm was new, and who learned to make syrup the way it has always been made. The long, slow boiling, the watching, the moment when the syrup is ready, which you know by experience and not by any instrument. You know by knowing. That knowledge is in this sugar house, in the walls of it, in the evaporator pan, in the hooks on the ceiling where the buckets hang, waiting for March, the color that will be gone in a week or 2 or 3, depending on the weather. The color will be gone. The maples will be bare. The canopy that was full and amber and red and orange will be skeleton. The branches and the small branches and the twigs, the whole complex structure of the tree visible now that the leaves are gone. Not ugly. The bare maple in winter is not ugly. The architecture of it, the way the branches divide and divide again, each division slightly different, the whole creating a shape that is entirely the tree's own. No 2 maples branch in quite the same way. The bare maples in a first snow, the snow finding every branch and every twig, sitting on the upper surfaces, the whole grove white and intricate, and very beautiful in a completely different way from the October color. A different beauty, not less, but the October color, this color, the color you walked through today, the color of the leaf you held in the grove. This will be gone. This specific combination of warm days and cool nights that produces exactly this palette, in exactly this light, on exactly this day. This will not come again. Next year's color will be different. It always is. Each October its own. This one yours. You were here for it. You held the leaf. Ruth's morning. Ruth will be up at 5:30. George a little earlier. He always rises first. The habit of a lifetime of farm mornings. Ruth comes downstairs to the kitchen. The wood stove, she opens the damper, adds a log. The fire from the night before still alive in the coals. In 10 minutes, the kitchen is warming. She makes coffee, the percolator old, the same one they have had for more than 20 years. Its aluminum slightly dented, its mechanism completely reliable. The smell of the coffee filling the kitchen as it percolates. She stands at the window. The maple grove in the early morning, dark still mostly, just the faintest suggestion of light in the east, but the trunks visible, and the canopy, and the leaves, still there, still colored. One more day. She thinks this every morning in October. One more day, not with sadness, with the particular appreciation of someone who knows how temporary beauty is and has learned to receive it completely while it is here. One more day. George comes in from the barn. He pours his coffee. They stand at the window together. The grove, the light coming, 41 years of this, and it is still enough. It is always enough. The leaf you held in the grove. You set it down somewhere, on the porch railing, perhaps, or on the table inside, or you carried it in your pocket. Wherever it is drying now. The cells of it losing their moisture, the leaf becoming lighter, more papery, the edges beginning to curl very slightly. But the color holds for a while. The red still present, the reds of maple leaves, those anthocyanins the tree made in the last days. They are relatively stable. They don't fade as quickly as you might expect. The leaf will be red for days, and then slowly it will go. The red fading to brown, the brown to a pale tan, the tan to the color of dry paper, and then dust given back. But that is later. Right now, the leaf is red, the color the tree made for it in the last days, the color of effort at the end. Still here, still yours. The grove is still. The leaves are on the ground. The sugar house is waiting. The fire in the sitting room is coals. The quilt is warm. Ruth is asleep. George is asleep. The maple trees are standing in the dark, their roots connected, the grove holding itself together, the sap resting, the color resting, the season resting, and you are sleeping deeply, completely, peacefully, in the farmhouse on the maple farm. under the handmade quilt, with the smell of wood smoke and syrup, and the October air, and the grove just outside. Still, steady, old, beautiful. This is exactly where you should be. This is exactly what you deserve. Every amber, wood-smoked, maple sweet, leaf fall moment. Every single one. You are safe. You are held. You are at peace. Good night.